All right, so let's try this again. I literally just made a video and it had absolutely no audio, and I've been trying for the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes to try and find out what happened, but it's not going to work. I did it on my computer, now I'm trying it on my phone. You know, they say a lazy man works twice, and I think I prove that at least 2, 3 times a day. I want to point out to you my little friend right here, Molly. She is napping on the sofa. She's got her comfy spot there, and I have Chloe down here by her bed because she's got to be super close because she needs more attention because she's a little bit older, and if not, she'll start to moan and groan. But with that said, like I was saying, lazy man works twice. I started writing the devotional for today, and I said, you know what? I'll just hop on a video, read the passage, and talk about it a little bit, and we'll be done with that. Then I recorded it. That didn't work, and now I'm recording it again. So I probably would have been done with this, but here we are. We are in First Corinthians chapter 7, which actually starts the third and final portion of the book of First Corinthians. We divided it in not three equal parts, but three parts. The first part, we talked about division in the church, and we just finished talking about disorder in the church. And then today, we are starting this larger and from chapter 7 all the way through chapter 16, talking about difficulty in the church. So Paul, writing to the church, writes in verse 7, which he indicates pretty clearly this is a whole other portion, or starting a new portion. He says, now regarding the questions you asked in your letter. So he's about to address very specific things. Before they were about things he heard. Now these are things that they were asking, and he's going to answer them. He says, now regarding the questions you asked in your letter, yes, it is good to abstain from sexual relations. But he doesn't stop there. He doesn't just say, it's not like he's saying sexual relations are bad. This is not why God created us, but this is a part of how God created human beings, and gave us the not just the ability but the pleasure that comes from it. And I don't want to be too graphic, but I also don't want to sugarcoat it. This is something that we should talk about more of in the church. And I know for some of you are like, whoa, done here, turn that off. But we talk about it with your parents. Ask them questions and get what you need from them at the time. I know each of my girls are different. As they were growing up, they asked certain questions, and they would say, "Oh, that's all I need to know. Thank you very much, and I'll come back if I need to ask more." So it's not about pouring everything into your mind and getting you guys thinking in a particular direction that you don't. But this is where we are, and this is what we're going to talk about today. He says, now regarding the question you asked in your letter, yes, it is good to abstain from sexual relations, but because there is so much sexual immorality, each man should have his own wife, and each woman should have her own husband. So right there, Paul makes it very clear. He gives the standard. Each man his own wife, each woman her own husband. The husband should fulfill his wife's sexual needs, and the wife should fulfill her husband's sexual needs. The wife gives authority over her body to her husband, and the husband gives authority over his body to his wife. Now, this is not a matter of Paul giving them a command saying, oh, you're not in charge of yourself, he is, and he's not in charge of himself, she is, but rather getting people to think more of the other person. To think more of the other person. When I was a kid, my mom, when we got in trouble, she would, or my dad would say, go to your room, think about what you've done, and I want you to come up with your own. As a matter of fact, I don't think this is my parents. I think this is just in general. I've heard people say this, but it's all a blur. I'm getting old now. But they would say, go to your room. I want you to think about what you did, and I want you to come up with your own punishment. So usually a kid is, now you always have the kid who say, oh, I don't think I should be punished at all. But usually a kid will be harder on himself than the parents could be on them given that opportunity. and the kid will come back and say, well, I think this, and the parents like, I think that's a little much. How about if we do this instead? And gives them the proper punishment for the offense that they made. And I think this is the idea that Paul has here, is that as we consider the other person, we are thinking of what is best for that other person rather than just thinking about ourselves or just getting what we want. He goes on in verse 5 to say, do not deprive each other of sexual relations unless you both agree to refrain for limited time so that you can give yourselves more completely to prayer. Afterward, you should come together again so that Satan will not be able to tempt you because of your lack of self-control. I say this as a concession and not a command, but I wish everyone were single just as I am, yet each person has a special gift from God, one of one kind or another. So Paul's going to unpack that a little bit more, and we'll talk about that in the next couple days. Today's Thursday. We'll talk about it Friday, Saturday. Then our lesson Sunday will wrap up not this portion, because like I said, we're going to be talking about difficulties for the remainder of the book of First Corinthians. In case if you're wondering what that is not ink. I actually pinched my finger really good with a pair of needle nose pliers. I was putting in, let's see if you could see it from here. I was putting in this projector right here and this strip that goes around here that holds these lights, and squeezing something together. I was squeezing, wah! I pinched my finger, and now I got a nice big blood blister there, and it's real hard, and my finger's tender. But, enough chasing squirrels. Let's get back to the subject at hand. For some of you, like, oh, come on, we're going to talk about this is important stuff. It's stuff that you need to have in your head now, so that as you get into relationships, you think of a relationship not as something for my needs only, because there is a sense of that, but it's also to meet the other person's needs as well. And here he talks specifically about sexual relations, but even the idea of holding someone's hand and or kissing another individual, things that some people would say, well, that's not okay in the church, and others would say, oh no, that's fine. We're not going to talk about those distinctions. You talk about that with your parents, and I know there's different standards for different people. I personally think that we should get married and then start dating. That way everything is confined into the context of marriage, and then you just enjoy your spouse. Enjoy one another as God intended. But that's just me. Some of you say, man, you're crazy. I'm going to be dating. But dating for some people means a whole lot different than for other people. But Paul says here specifically, but I wish everyone were single just as I am. Like I said, he's going to unpack that, talk about singleness in focus, so that you would not be distracted in the sense that it's a negative thing, but you should be thinking about the other person, not just about God. Some people get into a relationship with Jesus Christ and they think this is the only relationship. I don't care no longer about my boyfriend, about my wife. I don't care about my work. All I'm going to focus on is this. Well, if that was the case, then you should have stayed single. But you're not. You're married now. You need to focus on other people as well as the Lord, and prioritizing relationships, because they are all in one way or another tied to one another. So we'll talk more about that in the coming days. If you have a specific question, and it is appropriate to ask me as your pastor, and as a friend and as a brother, then feel free to post it down below. If not, make sure that you reach out to a parent or a loved one, someone that you know and trust, that not only that you know and trust, but that has a knowledge of what the scriptures actually say. Because if we're being followers of Jesus, this is how he rules his church, through his word, but he also does it through individuals that he has gifted that have more experience and knowledge that you do, so that you don't make your own mistakes or you don't repeat the mistakes that we have made, but rather that we help you navigate through life. This is real discipleship, not just Bible knowledge, not just showing up to church, not just understanding all things, but rather putting them into practice and us helping you walk through life and some of these messy situations that we may get ourselves into. So, with that said, love you guys. Just realized I've been looking at the wrong spot. I thought my camera was here, but the camera is actually right there. So, with that said, love you guys. Have a great day. And if you have any questions or comments or complaints, feel free to post them below. Remember, this is Molly right here, the little one, and Chloe is down there. Hope you guys are having a great day. Love you and goodbye.